I think the new season is great. As long as they understand that, like, and I've said this to Berg, like this strength of depth piece, needs to be ironed out well. And, understanding that the East Coast semifinals needs to have like 13 to 15 spots for the women because all the strong women are over there. But I'm very excited about that season. I'm excited about the fact that they're trying to do more in the media side again. I know the media team over there with Haynes and those women are like, they're really trying to kind of blow things up and highlight multiple people beyond just the, podium athletes. Honestly, I'm excited to see who wins on the women's side this year. Like it's cool that it's going to be wide open. And I think obviously Mal is, coming for that number one spot, but like, you can't discount Laura, you can't discount Danielle, you can't discount Amanda or anybody else who, in that matter, like Gabby, whatever, any of those top 10 athletes, like they're all coming.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Invictus Mindset Podcast. Today's guest, making his second appearance on the show, the co-owner and an agent for LAB MGMT, the man, Cooper Marsh. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me back. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's always fun when we get to chat and connect and talk about some really fun topics that include CrossFit, but are also gently outside of CrossFit a little bit. And you've been kind of a hot topic lately. LAB MGMT just went through a little bit of a merger with both Matt O'Keefe and Danielle Robbins, who are in the space and gently representing some of the top athletes in the world. How does it feel to connect with some of the best?
Yeah, no, definitely stoked and honored. I mean, I've always kind of watched what O'Keefe has done, especially, as I've been mentored by my partner, Jason. And, they kind of, calling a spade, they always kind of worked against each other, as is kind of natural because it's a competition a little bit, right, in business. But, there was a mutual respect there between the two of them. And then, as they kind of brought up their mentees, myself with Jason and Danielle with O'Keefe, I kind of fancied it as a little bit of a competition as well. But the more I hung around Daniel and saw his work ethic and hung around O'Keefe in large part thanks to like Jake and HWPO, I really kind of realized like, wow, we align on a lot of things and the way we handle things, the way we, try to put client first, but also where we want to go with sports representation. And so it just kind of made sense to point everything in the same direction and pool resources and then really try to build something, in CrossFit, but beyond that we can be super proud and stoked on. And I think my bandwidth was at its max and so was Daniel. And so it made sense to, partner together and work as a team and try to kick some ass. So yeah, we're really pumped on it. I'm thrilled to be doing it. And 2023 is shaping up to be a big year. So yeah, really pumped.
That's very cool, man. When you look at client management and client representation, especially in the sport of CrossFit, how would you kind of describe that for our listeners that might not be familiar with that? For athletes that are kind of on the up and coming, striving to make professional athlete their title and their occupation consistently over time, they obviously need to make a living. And, what would you describe client representation for people that are a little bit unfamiliar with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say client representation can kind of be two things, right? It can almost be like an agent or a manager, and or a hybrid of both, right? And I think in CrossFit, you get a lot of the hybrid, which is, not only are we the agent in terms of, we're going out and sourcing endorsement deals and negotiating those so that they can make income off of the use of their name, image, and likeness, but also we're managing, right? Helping schedule things, helping, make sure the events go off without a hitch. And it varies from client to client, right? Some people have more of a support system around them and some don't. And if you don't, then you're probably going to have me in the trenches with you a little bit more on just like random day-to-day things or competition-based things. Whereas some people have like their full family and a whole coaching staff and all of this, all these things, these details taken care of, which they might not need me for that. And so I'm focused more so on the endorsement deal side of things. So it can definitely be a hybrid. I think in CrossFit, though, there's an influx of people wanting to do what we do, and I think that's very cool. I just think that for some people, like in some athletes, it's not the time yet for those people, and they just need to kind of focus in on competing and getting better, and not about all the kind of noise around it, and just, try to grow as an athlete themselves first, and then let the, deals and accolades kind of follow. So yeah, we definitely have a great group, and just like totally honored to be able to do what I do for them.
It's just cool to see you guys continue to evolve and upgrade and connect, and honestly cross paths with you guys at different events and see how the interactions take place, how you're kind of in the weeds with some of your athletes. You're always following when workouts get released and providing, feedback on gear, feedback on maybe pacing or strategy, and kind of varying the hats and the roles that you play. You're a very genuine helper. It's cool to see you co-piloting some of these athletes. And for people that are gently unfamiliar with lab management, what is lab management, and what's kind of the overarching mission with where you guys are at now and where you'd like to go?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, in terms of the providing feedback and, trying to be like a jack of all trades, I've realized that sometimes I don't need to provide workout feedback because they've got coaches, they need to do their job. So, I've tried to step back from that a little bit, but I'm always down to game plan if need be. Just ask Jake. Lab management is we're a marketing agency, right? Where our goal is to build athlete brands. Our goal is to partner them with brands that will support their mission and goals throughout the entirety of their career, and then also planning for retirement and what it is that they can do next. So when they're done and the lights turn off, they need to fall back into something that allows them to continue to make a living and be passionate about what they do. And that usually comes in the form of some type of business because they're competitors and they want to win, and business is the same thing. So best example is Josh Bridges, former CrossFit Games athlete and former Navy SEAL, but we help him with his program business and his merchandise and the launch of his YouTube channel and just different kind of endorsement deals that he's still able to get involved with, where it's maybe him taking on more of an ownership role so that he can, lean into his entrepreneurial side. So, different phase of his career, but, still high earning potential.
I love that. It really cares about the total human and not just validating people for their function in that moment when they are a titled professional athlete, but really taking into consideration life after sport when, the body, the mind is kind of moving on to different arenas of life. Trident Coffee is sponsoring this episode of the Invictus Mindset Podcast. My guys over at Trident taught me something really important this last year, that we are all a bundle of stories, both good and bad, and everything in between. At Trident, they're storytellers. All of their cold brews remind their customers that they are part of something bigger than themselves. They help create connections through symbology and storytelling that engage their customers on an emotional level, and this distinguishes them from other coffee brands. You can find Trident in Imperial Beach and in Coronado. They offer over 14 plus nitro cold brews along with dairy-free options. You can find the perfect brew and pair it with one of their treats from their keto bakery. All these options will allow you to support your health and fitness journey with Trident Coffee. They're more than just a coffee company. You can check them out over at tridentcoffee.com and use code Invictus20 for 20% off online and in tap rooms. Once again, that's tridentcoffee.com. Use code Invictus20 for 20% off online and in tap rooms. Take your coffee experience to the next level. Two important factors for us over at Invictus Mindset are true care and attention to detail. My friends over at RX Smart Gear have been bringing innovative fitness tools to the market since 2009. From their award-winning Evo speed ropes to their amazing gymnastics grips to their line of inflatable fitness equipment, they're constantly looking to problem solve within the fitness industry. They're always allowing us to have our gear work for us rather than against us. Hop on over to RX Smart Gear and use discount code Invictus Mindset to shop their latest cutting edge gear. Have your gear work with you and not against you. I heard somebody say it the other day. I was training with a highly competitive athlete, and they were saying something along the lines of, I'm really thankful and appreciative for client representation, because this is kind of preparing me for, potentially putting my kids through college, potentially being able to support having a home one day. And these are things that I think sometimes get gently overlooked, and the narrowed focus becomes just the performance on the field, but then also realizing that these athletes are humans. And so I think it's cool that you, Jason O'Keefe, and Danielle Robbins are kind of tag team in this, where you've got mentor that's kind of guiding you and Daniel that are a little bit more boots on the ground. And then as it continues to evolve, it sounds like you'll have additional people that are supporting you guys. And the trickle down is awesome to see. But how does it make you feel when I say something along the lines of like what you guys are doing is potentially helping put these athletes' futures set up for success, whether that's kids' college or a home or a future business?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes me feel good, because that's the goal, right? Is to have an all-encompassing kind of approach and to not leave any boxes unchecked. So, for example, we think about like, obviously you mentioned Danielle Brandon, like she's one of the clients that I'm like most in lockstep with, because DB doesn't come from much in terms of a background. And, she's definitely the first, high earning individual in her, family. And, that comes with some responsibility and some forethought for what's next in the future. And so, setting her up with a financial management team and making sure that her money's working for her. And, she's, capitalizing on this moment and this growth, so that we can, set her up for success long term. But also that comes with the partnerships too, right? Like her and Rad are so, embedded in one another. It's like Rad is DB and DB is Rad. And I mean, you could ask Ben this, who's the owner and founder and CEO of Rad. Like, we've already talked about this. When DB's done, like she can go get a job there if she wants, right? And just do something. Like she's super creative, smart individual. And she'll find a way to kind of release her passion into things. She's like pretty artistic. And I don't know if a ton of people know that. But like, she'll be good to go, like, because of how, deep that partnership runs. And that was by design, right? It was like, hey, we can take the easy way and continue to sign with one of the biggest company in the world, right, for apparel and shoes, or we can go and take a little bit of a gamble, but if it goes well, like we're going to be set for life for you. And so we took that, right. And it's worked out thus far. And, we're making sure that Danielle's set up for long-term things, right? I mean, it's the same thing when we look at Amanda. Amanda's, a doctor of PT. Obviously her and her husband, Wes, are just incredible people, and Wes is super hardworking. Amanda's super hardworking. But you also got to be looking for the future, right? When she's done in a few years or however long time that is, like, she can lean back on that doctor of PT, but we want to make sure that we're setting her up with partnerships that can last and kind of transition into that space with her, because she has so much more to offer than just being an athlete, but also, financially making sure we're trying to take care of as many like kind of milestones as possible before that happens, so that when she, transitions into that part of her career or life, she's set up for success and is like, the chains are kind of broken off and she's free to just sprint. So yeah, it feels good to think about those things. The child piece, putting somebody's child through college, is a pretty wild one. That's not really one I think about, but if that's what happens, I mean, that's amazing. Hopefully that's
cool, man. I'm excited to chat a little bit later around the growth and development of Rad, but something that's at the top of mind in what you were saying, Cooper, is we're talking about, life as an athlete, and then post-career, life in new role. But what about within that transition? How do you negotiate with brands if the athlete is no longer competing and they're moving on to a different arena where the conversation shifts a little bit, and you're still trying to add value to both the athlete or the now human, everyday working professional, and the brand, where there's this mutual benefit to both parties, but the roles have changed. And cognitively, maybe the identity of the performing athlete switching into that new role could be, in a gently different space as well. But I like you, I believe there's transferable skills.
Yeah, and I think the way to do that is to put some of that onto the athlete, right? Because they need to start kind of thinking and operating in a way that's more business-like and entrepreneurial. So, we're going through this with some of our athletes right now, but it's focusing on getting these partnerships that aren't so focused, like the companies that aren't so focused on podium finishes and more focused on, okay, you have a platform and an engaged audience. You speak to the audience, they believe in you. Now, what can we do to, make sales happen to that audience? And to me, that's more where, pro model things or having more creativity and creative kind of freedom with that brand is how you solidify that partnership even more. So not one of my athletes, but somebody who I think does a good job for her brands is like Tasia Persevich, right? Like Tasia does a great job, kind of creating with Tupood, or I believe she just signed with GoRuck. So I'm sure she'll probably create some things there, which will then allow her to collect royalties. And, it's kind of a win-win, right? The brand pays her more money when they sell products. So, although she's not in the limelight per se competing, she's still getting an opportunity to, earn her keep. And yeah, we're doing the same type of stuff with our athletes now. And, it's kind of what you see with Josh or, other people in other sports, et cetera. So yeah, more as some of our athletes transition into that, they'll start kind of partnering with brands that allow them to create and build.
That's very cool. Yeah. How do you guys manage it all? I mean, you mentioned with Josh where he's got his online programming, he's got merchandise, a few different other arenas that he dabbles in. Do you guys have tech people on the back end? Do you have, a financial team, a legal team? And there's lots of moving parts in business operation. And, also the organizational standpoint of like, those are a few different buckets, and I can only imagine tax season comes around. You got 1099s and LLCs and S Corps. And I mean, it has to be quite the juggling act for you guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely is. I definitely struggle sometimes with all the different kind of hats to be worn as a business owner. But you just keep plugging away, man. Like how to manage it all is manage your time. So like, this is something I've been trying to work on a lot. And I speak to my girlfriend, Becca, about it a lot. Like just making sure that I'm like super present when I'm with her. Whereas like when I'm working, and just trying to kind of like take that time to recuperate and then, go full steam ahead. Because it's really hard for me to kind of turn off. Like I'll be thinking about things, at night. And then it's like, should I get up and make note of that? Am I going to forget? Like, that type of thing. But in terms of how we all juggle it, like, yeah, it's all about having a team, right? And allowing people who you bring in to do what you brought them in to do. I hate micromanaging. I don't like being micromanaged. I don't like micromanaging people. It feels uncomfortable. And, luckily I've got people around me, such as we just brought in this woman, Michelle, who, I've known from previous company relationships, but like Michelle is just like a total stud and knows marketing and tech and, how to build things that I don't understand how they work. But she just absolutely smashes, right? And so she's been kind of running the whole marketing and back end tech side of stuff for Josh Bridges, but also for Maddie Rogers' brand by Kaya. We're hiring on full time this guy Zach Long, who's helped build part-time now our baseball side of things and has been running and gunning for some of our traditional sport athletes, but also now represents like Nick Matthew on CrossFit side of things. So Zach's like a total stud, tons of help. And then we also have Deb Graff, who manages Christian Harris and helps out with Annika and, is kind of another set of hands at events. And so, yeah, it's just like bringing in good people to help facilitate and make this whole thing go. And
that's awesome. All the different names that you mentioned are people that are doing some really cool things in the space. I've heard business owners describe it twofold. So some people have a different box, right, per person where they kind of compartmentalize, where like this athlete's going in this box, this person's going in that box, and then you kind of pull them out like opening and closing of browsers. But then other business owners are kind of like a jumbled like rubber band ball where everything's touching, everything's bouncing off each other. It's a little bit chaotic, but there's a creative component there that allows the ball to keep bouncing higher and higher or keep moving forward at a relatively rapid pace. How do you create separation where it's like you might end one call and your headspace is here, and then it's like you're jumping on the very next call and all of a sudden your headspace needs to be in a different arena? How do you navigate that, Cooper?
I would say trying to block out a little like 5 to 10 minute window between calls is helpful, right? In terms of the like literal sense of how you can separate. But, other than that, like if I'm jumping from call to call and having to kind of like code switch between athletes or brands or whatever it is, like whatever hat I'm wearing, just taking a second maybe to catch up with the person on the other line first, right, will just allow you to kind of dissolve one thing and then you can fire up the next. Unless it's like we got to be getting stuff done, then we're going to have to jump right into it. And I might have to ask for a second to catch up. But either that or, kind of prepping for calls with some notes beforehand, just a couple bullet points I want to touch on. So then I can jog my memory real quick of what it is I want to get accomplished and then, can move on.
I love that. I think it's important for more people to get that pen to paper and not play too much ping pong in between the ears.
Yeah, like this is my jam right here. I don't know if you can see it, but like this thing is the Uncalendar. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but they're a great kind of like schedule. But like you have like month goals, you've got notes in there, you've got things that need to be done this week versus daily breakdowns versus like a section to have notes or drawings or whatever. Like, yeah.
What's it called? The Uncalendar?
Uncalendar. Yeah, I should get royalties for this, but like you can like keep a bunch of notes, right? But then like what needs to be done, bigger picture things like weekly type stuff.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, and it's just like it helps a lot. But then it's also got, it's got your notes section in the back and all types of different things. But
why do you choose to play in the old school sense, writing things down versus like a Google Calendar or something like that? Just out of curiosity.
I mean, Google Calendar is great for like reminders and notifications on meetings coming up and things like that. But I don't know. I just like crossing things off. Just like
same. It's like that dopamine hit of like, I got to win. Yeah, you just accumulate those small wins.
Right. Micro focus, macro goals. Right. So
I dig that.
Yeah.
With it being the beginning of the year, how do you set goals personally? How do you then set goals with some of the athletes and people you work with? And then obviously, how do you set maybe Q1, Q2, big picture goals for lab management?
Yeah, I think we're kind of going through that process right now, and we'll meet in Miami a little bit more about it. Just some of the bigger picture goals, but like, we just caught up last week. The biggest goal of 2023 at first was just to get this merger launched. Like been working on this for probably 6 months now. Just like little things like, new branding, right? Or, getting a hype reel and scrubbing the Instagram, and we redid the website and, getting the documentation done and the LLC filed and everybody signing, et cetera. Right. And so that was a lot of like what Q1 of 2023 is about. And honestly, now it's just getting the systems in place. And so I think we'll just probably sit down as a team and kind of hash that out. I mean, I can't say that, I'm completely creating the narrative because I don't want to. I want input from the team, right? That's why we brought them in. That's why we're a team now. And, everybody deserves to have a say in that. So, we'll sit down. We'll talk about that further. In terms of athletes, though, definitely checking in. Like I was in Naples the other couple of weeks ago, and it's like I sat down with each athlete there, right? Go to coffee, go to breakfast, whatever, with Fee, Emma, Danielle I talk to all the time, so I don't really need to sit down with her. But, we do talk about a bunch of things. Dallin, like just kind of getting a pulse check on everything and how they're feeling, what endorsement deals are, really working for them, where they feel supported, where can we kind of improve others, what's the game plan for the following year, just kind of checking in with those and getting a baseline with everybody for the new year, and then kind of starting to work towards that, and then trying to over communicate around those things so that they really know what's going on.
That's cool. I love the concept of pulse check, because you can really feel one's energy when sitting there and asking some of the difficult questions that directly impact their day-to-day life. How do you kind of play with that a little bit where, let's say the pulse check of one person, they don't really need that much. Maybe they have the family support, but then the next person really needs a lot from you and maybe has moments of potential, but maybe hasn't quite gotten there where the argument is, or the negotiation strategy is a little bit easier. This episode is brought to you by Mush. My friends over at Mush created an incredibly cool product of ready-to-eat overnight oats. And for those of you that listen to the podcast often, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And Mush has done just that, as their products have no more than 7 clean ingredients that are dairy-free, gluten-free, with no added sugar. Mush started right here at Invictus, as they had a vision to create convenient, healthy, and clean nutrition. And this landed them on Shark Tank, where the famous Mark Cuban invested in them. Now they're found in retailers all over the country, including Costco, Sprouts, Target, and Whole Foods. Check out my friends over at www.eatmush.com. How do you know when to push more, when to pull back? I'm very curious because, we all know the Ari Gold approach and, have a nice little pulse check, for lack of a better term, watching Entourage back in the day. But this space is not the same as actors and professional basketball and professional football, where you can really be all gas, no brakes. There's a little bit more of an art to what you guys are doing. Can you paint a little bit of a picture as to what that looks like?
Yeah, I just think the way you find that out is kind of the over communication piece and just checking in, especially leading into things. We're coming into an event right now, a big one. It's I've touched base with everybody in terms of the athletes we have competing there and what it is that they need and the support that they want. But it's I talk to all these people enough that I know where they're at in terms of coaching and body work and whatever it is they need, or what aches and pains they have, or, are they financially stable, or do they need a little bit more support? And so just by talking, right? It's a simplification to a pretty broad question, but you just got to communicate with these people. And if you have an honest and transparent relationship, they'll tell you exactly what they need, because the foundation is set for them to be able to do that. So yeah, I just communicate a lot, man.
I dig it, dude. When you're looking at RAD, that's been a brand you've kind of been with since the beginning, pretty tight with the founder and CEO, Ben. What's it been like to kind of grow a brand and maybe provide some feedback and loosely co-pilot the growth and development of that journey a little bit?
Yeah, I think I appreciate the faith in that, but I don't think co-pilot or build a brand is very appropriate for me personally. Ben's busted his ass with his team to do what he does and to build that. But to be there kind of from the get-go of launch in Miami last year, and to see that, and to have talked to Ben in the lead up to it, and having Danielle sign on, and that whole thing has just been incredible. I find Ben very inspiring, and honestly, one of a mentor at this point, or I don't even know, kind of a pro bono board member of Cooper Marsh's mind.
I like that.
Yeah, he's just been a great confidant and person to bounce ideas off of and get his opinion and just watch work, because the dude is so particular in what product comes out and the way the brand is portrayed. It's unbelievable, and it's inspiring, because I'm wow, I need to protect my brand or our brand, our company, our agency like that, right? And ruthlessly say or ruthlessly charge towards whatever it is our goal is, right? Whatever the end goal is, or the thing we want to tackle, and don't bend or break or compromise anything. And Ben does a great job of that. So he's very inspiring. And it's just been incredible to watch them go. But yeah, he's got some big things planned. And I think that company is going to be doing some phenomenal things in 2023 that's going to shake stuff up. And yeah, can't wait to see it. And, any way I can help with that, but that goes for any brand that any of my athletes work with. If I can help them grow, it's only going to, help the athlete, helps the ecosystem. I want to do that. So yeah, RAD's been absolutely crushing it. And some of the other brands, though, that are making waves in the space too, just phenomenal, right? The more I see coming out of Tier, it's very exciting. I'm loving the new colorways they're putting out, the excitement they're putting around Wadapalooza again, and the putting dollars into the space to be able to kind of continue to grow the sport. It's been phenomenal. Obviously, Noble's done a phenomenal job with their CrossFit Games partnership, and I was just at their film festival, and that was just out of this world.
Dude, the film festival was incredible. Todd and his team did an amazing job.
Yeah, just unreal. And so it's just all these brands, right? I mean, I know Jordan over at Reebok's busting his ass to, get things done there, especially after their acquisition, and Nike still, like, John still got some love for the space and what they're doing with the HWPO connection. Like, there's just so much good stuff in all these brands, right? Like, even Strike Movement, right? Small footwear company that, like, this guy Mark, who I don't think people really know much about Mark. He's this former pro snowboarder, had like pro model boards. Like, he's practically a godfather of snowboarding, and yet he's doing such incredible things with this smaller footwear company, and they're growing that, all these brands are just so inspiring. And it's like, I just learn from all of them, and I like to pick these guys' brains and just hear what it is they're doing to try to, be the best at their craft. And I mean, shit, same thing goes for Bear from BP, who's crushing for military, or from LSKD, and Mike over there. Like, all of these guys have a different take and different kind of backgrounds and way that they're building their companies. And so just sitting there and absorbing that is just like an awesome benefit to working with them, but also a privilege. And it's definitely helped kind of maneuver our agency and to build it in ways that they've done that have worked, and avoid things that haven't worked for them. And yeah, but that was a big tangent. But in terms of Rad, yeah,
I think it was a great description, though. I mean, a lot of brands are doing some really cool things. I love that the founders are bringing in hints of their own flavor a little bit and seeing how it synergizes with the sport. And I'm excited for the continued growth. I mean, Tier blew up this last year, so I'm interested to see, what happens there. And obviously Noble and Rad are in the conversation. And as you mentioned, Strike Movement, Born Primitive, LSKD, really cool stuff floating to the surface. And it's fun as an observer to kind of see the different innovations that continue to evolve. When you look at the sport of CrossFit, what are you most excited about for 2023? Obviously, Dawn Fall, kind of taking a little bit of a gently different vision. Late last year, we saw Castro back into the mix. We're seeing some changes in the leadership pretty frequently. The rules of the sport gently shifted a little bit as far as semifinals again. What are your thoughts on another shift, but the excitement also associated with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the new season is great. As long as they understand that, like, and I've said this to Berg, like, this strength of depth piece, needs to be ironed out well. And, understanding that the East Coast semifinals needs to have like 13 to 15 spots for the women, because all the strong women are over there. But I'm very excited about that season. I'm excited about the fact that they're trying to do more in the media side again. I know the media team over there with Haynes and those women are like, they're really trying to kind of blow things up and highlight multiple people beyond just the, podium athletes. Honestly, I'm excited to see who wins on the women's side this year. Like, it's cool that it's going to be wide open. And I think obviously Mal is, coming for that number one spot, but like, you can't discount Laura, you can't discount Danielle, you can't discount Amanda or anybody else who, in that matter, like Gabby, whatever, any of those top 10 athletes, like, they're all coming. And so it's going to be thrilling. I think the men's race is going to be even more intense because, now you have Roman established in the U.S. as opposed to like flying over and having to leave his very pregnant wife, and Ricky first getting his year back. Like, there's going to just be, a lot of drama, and I'm excited for that because that's what's
the narratives are definitely exciting. And we've got Wodapalooza coming up in about a week, maybe a little bit less. Yep. And now we're seeing athletes that are partaking in the team, but then also the individual. Kind of a cool set of events. Some of the workouts have been released. We were talking gently online or offline around some of the released workouts. What are you most looking forward to in Miami? They're at Wodapalooza, which is such a special event.
I mean, I am excited to see everybody. I love being at the events because it's just like this palpable energy. But yeah, I'm excited for Emma Carey to come back and compete individually. Homegirl has really had to trust her coach, Matt Torres, in the process of, trust me, you're 17 and a back injury is nothing to play with. Let's get strong again and do it the right way and take our time. And she did. She did it. And now she's strong and looking very fierce. Really excited to watch Dallin go. I mean, Dallin took 5th place last year and, granted was like only a few points from podiuming. And I think honestly, he'd have been third or second last year had he had not completely sprained his ankle in an event. So not only did that event then completely go off the rails, but also he had to go run like 2 miles fast on like a very sprained ankle and deal with it the rest of the weekend. So
that's
had
tough.
that not happened, he would have potentially been pushing for a win. So I'm really excited to see Dallin go. And then like there's just going to be some fun teams there with, Alexis and Fee on a team together, and then Nick Matthews competing individually. That'll be exciting. He's got firepower. Like Amanda's on a team out there with Brooke, and they're like best friends, so they're just going to have a blast. And there's just going to be like so much fun stuff to watch. And then I'm just excited as well to watch like with Danielle and Maddie Rogers will be there. Like we have different meet and greets and sponsor activations and photo shoots. It's just a great week. It's super busy. It's tiring, and I love it. And I'll be completely brain dead afterwards. But it's just like it's so fun. But Sunday DBE day at the Rad booth is going to be very cool. So
nice, man.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing all that, kind of giving us a peek behind the curtain, for lack of a better metaphor, around the sports representation. It's very cool. I'm a big fan. The acquisition with O'Keefe and Robbins, that's a cool one. It's been all over Morning Chalk Up and been the talk of the town in the CrossFit space for sure. As we wrap things up, Cooper, where can we see lab management kind of evolving over the course of this year and future years as you guys gently strive to expand your horizons a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, ideally we're expanding into those traditional sports spaces. So, you can follow along at LAB MGMT Instagram, but ideally you'll see us announcing, NFL clientele, skateboard, soccer, golf, baseball, any type of marketing representation we can do there to build brands and crush it for those athletes. That's what we want to do. So, follow that space, and at the same time, we want to stranglehold on CrossFit and to be those guys too. So we got a lot of work cut out ahead of us, and I think we have the team that's cut out to do it. So super excited.
Awesome to hear it, buddy. Good luck at Wodapalooza, and thanks so much for connecting today.
Thanks, Bryce.
If you enjoyed my conversation with Cooper Marsh today, please rate, review, subscribe, and share with your friends. And as always, stay on the hunt for who you've not yet become. Till next time, guys. Are you over 35 and in need of a solid training program? Are you looking to improve your athleticism and keep up with the younger athletes in your CrossFit gym? Then look no further than our Invictus Masters program. This program places year-round emphasis on mobility and stability exercises with movements that we have seen directly benefit our Masters athletes. Our program is led by Nicole DeHart and offers a training program designed specifically for Masters athletes who are looking to compete at a higher level in the sport of CrossFit. Some of our top Masters athletes in the world train with us, including CrossFit Games champion Kevin Kester, Matt Beals, and Pat Sprague. You can learn more about their stories and the Invictus Masters program by checking out their episodes right here on the Invictus Mindset Podcast. If you'd like more information about the current training cycle or to join the Invictus Masters program, please email Nicole at invictusathlete.com. That's NICHOLE at invictusathlete.com.